Hey everyone, Marcia here. I'm having some technical difficulties, so I'm not going to share my entire screen with you, but I'm going to walk you through an assignment that I did in the spring of 2020. I'm going to explain the evaluation tool. I'm going to explain my reasoning behind why I chose this assignment, and I'm going to explain how it relates to some of the ITSE standards. I'm looking forward to hearing from you in the comment section about any questions you have or any insights you have or any suggestions for how you could improve this for next time. So in the spring of 2020, I was teaching the Roman Empire, and what happened was that my school board changed the last day of school from June 6th for the middle school, or June 5th, to May 28th, and then asked us to do an independent project, and so my last day of instruction was May 21st. So I lost a lot of instructional time that I would have used to really go more in depth on different assignments, and so I created a choice board. And my students love choice boards, and I'm a big fan of choice boards. It's a way to cover a lot of content or to cover different skills, and it provides students with choice, which I think is the most important. So this is the choice board, and I do strongly recommend taking the time to format, provide different fonts, background colors, just engage your students. I think the more visual and user-friendly your materials, the better response you get from your kids. So the first thing I did is I tried really hard to make sure that the question was broad enough to cover the content. So what were the major achievements of the Roman Empire? My learning targets focused on history, research and presentation, and habits of work and responsibility. I'm going to take a moment to show you how I graded this. And so there was the Pax Romana self-reflection rubric. My students would fill this out, and it's a single point rubric. I'm a huge fan of single point rubrics for middle school students, and I want to tell you why. I think that if there is too much text on a page, students just kind of go, great, and move on. And so the single point rubric forces that student to specifically read the learning target. And at the beginning of the year, I include a box that makes them rewrite it. And focusing on the learning target really helps them hone in on what's expected of them. Under the needs improvement to column, anything that doesn't meet the standard, they would explain there. If they think they exceeded the standard, they explain that in the 4. And then how did your work meet the learning target is explained in this box here. And we do that for every single standard and the habits of work and learning. I've had huge success with the single point rubric with my kids. I provide really clear feedback because I use this structure consistently throughout the year. And it creates this kind of consistency that students can build on their skills. So students would fill that out. My directions for the choice board are really clear. I think it's really important that students have simple directions. So if we're going back to the learning target, they are picking a topic of interest to them, but I do provide more choice. There's my typo. And the choice board is really important because I think that not everyone learns the same way. So my choice board had 6 options, and if this was live in the share version, you would see this bigger. But for Pax Romana's choice board, you click on 1, and it takes you to slide 6, or the different link, and each slide is a different type of assignment. It might be watch and respond, or they watch a video and they have a choice of how they respond, either through writing or through drawing. For learning Roman numerals, I used a YouTube video for instruction on how Roman numerals work, and then I provided a worksheet for them to practice. For read and respond, this is the most broad option. Kids could pick any column or any topic related to Roman Empire, and then they had a choice of writing a paragraph, making a video, completing a drawing, or creating a model. Watch and respond for Christianity, again with options. They could create a wanted poster if they would like. I did use Ducksters, which is a website that allows for students to scroll to the bottom and click a button that reads the entire page to them. That's a really great tool for differentiation for the middle school classroom. A really fun one that created some great discussion for my kids was the watch, read, and respond, where they watched a video on the reasons for the fall of the Roman Empire, and then they had to rank the reasons from 1 to 10 with the most to least likely. And then they had to reflect on their assignment and turn the whole thing in. The assignment was really successful. What was really important to keep in mind with this, though, is that this isn't necessarily how I would do it in the regular classroom where there's much more face-to-face interaction. But in a virtual format, I really wanted to provide support, but I also wanted to provide choice. And I was getting a lot of different types of feedback from kids. Some kids wanted more Zoom classes. Other kids were so tired of Zoom classes. Some kids wanted more independence, whereas other kids were like, I just need a worksheet. They were feeling really burnt out. And because everybody learns differently, it was really hard to get a pulse on what's going to work for everyone. So my goals with the assignment were to provide enough choice for students to find success, because my ultimate goal was engagement. By the May portion of our remote learning, I had a lot of kids who were just struggling to complete the work. It wasn't terribly challenging, but they were feeling just fatigued because there was a lot of emotional issues going on. The spring of 2020 had a lot of unrest for our country and for the world. So as a teacher, to be responsive, it meant that I provided choice. And that gets into the ITSE standards. So I picked 3 standards that I think most closely relate to this assignment. The first one was the empowered learner. And the empowered learner standard is all about students really being engaged and empowered and really kind of in the driver's seat making decisions. I absolutely support that. This assignment is all about choice. And in the middle school setting, you have to scaffold those choices because students are all over the page. When you're differentiating between kids who are reading at a 4th grade reading level and at a college reading level. So you have to think about, what is Johnny, Susie, and Millie going to do? So the empowered learner with the choices was really important for this assignment. Another one, bread and butter for the social studies teacher, is knowledge constructor. I wanted my students to be able to pick the content that they wanted to engage in critically. I wanted a variety of resources available to them, from videos to text. I also wanted for them to feel like they were doing something meaningful. And so the choices came in again to really help them do that. For a creative communicator, I thought it was really important again with a choice, because I had students who learned in very different ways. There were students who would rather write you an essay about everything. Towards the end of the unit, I had several students who were just doing video posts for me, which I thought were great. I had a lot of art. I think art was really therapeutic for kids in the spring of 2020. So long story short, we balanced a lot of priorities in the spring of 2020. And this assignment hit the mark because it provided choice. And choice was needed to accommodate what everyone had going on in their emotional, social, personal, academic, you name it. There was a lot of chaos. So I feel like my learners did a really great job with this assignment. It was really easy for me to check in with kids on day 1 and be like, have you made a choice? Great. Have you interacted with the text or watched the video? Great. What do you need from me to move forward? So as far as me getting a pulse on kids via email and Google Classroom posts, super great. What I would change is next time I might actually, instead of having kids fill out a self-reflection rubric, I might encourage them to do a vlog. I think that middle school kids do a better job reflecting verbally sometimes in a short conference with you than they might on paper. So that's just one thing I would think of. So I look forward to your feedback, and I hope you're having a great week. Thanks.